The man was urinating by the roadside. A stone nearby caught his attention. He wiped the dust off it with his hand, and it turned out to be a piece of gold. He wanted to keep the gold for himself, but after hesitating for a while, he decided to tell his companion. When his companion came over and took a look, he took out a flamethrower and started to burn it. After a while, the stone began to melt, but it still shone with a golden color. Now they could be sure that it was gold. However, after digging a big hole 3 meters wide, they still couldn't get it out, and the two of them together couldn't move it either. So, they tied a rope around the gold and tried to drag it with a vehicle. But the rope broke twice, and the gold block still couldn't be pulled out. They dug another half meter down and then realized that it wasn't just a gold block, but a whole gold mountain. But how to get the gold out became a problem. Finally, the two decided that one of them would go to town to find an excavator, while the other would stay and guard the gold. Because the man insisted that he wouldn't leave, his companion had to give in. The next day, they divided the water and food, and also gave the man a satellite phone for communication before his companion left. After his companion left, the man first covered the gold with sand, and then made a small shade with a piece of canvas. Then, the man went out to collect firewood and saw a plane wreck. It was a great place for a camp. It could block the scorching sun during the day and wild animals at night. The only problem was that he couldn't see the gold from there. So he took apart some parts from the plane body, dragged them back to the gold, and built a simple tent around a dead tree. Through the window, he could see the gold perfectly. The man went to sleep feeling relieved, but the sunlight shone through the gaps and woke him up. By then, he already had blisters on his forehead from the sunburn. He endured the pain and hunger, and sat beside the gold. After a while, he couldn't resist any longer. The man used a stone to knock off a piece of gold and decided to leave with it. At that moment, his companion called and said that he was on his way back. So the man chose to stay and wait. 2 days later, the man's food was running out, and his sunburn was getting worse. But his companion still hadn't come back. At that moment, he saw a big truck coming from the distance. He wanted to ask for help, but he was also afraid of losing the gold in front of him. After struggling for a while, he watched helplessly as the truck drove away. Finally, on the 5th day, the man called his companion and only got a vague answer that he would be there soon. At that moment, the man was surrounded by wild dogs and was in danger of losing his life at any moment. But what he didn't know was that his companion had already come back 2 days ago. He was holding a telescope and quietly watching the man being attacked by wild dogs. Until his last breath, the man was still fighting for the gold. The companion watched as the man was eaten by wild dogs and laughed. Now all the gold belonged to him, but just as he was about to dig out the gold, an arrow shattered all his dreams.